How's it going, soldiers? Tonight we're gonna play Happy Wheels. Let's fail some rating. Damn it. Okay. Need to go here. New extreme battle by Cowboys. So engage. Okay, I hate this. Friendship wins. Epic. No. New character. Let's check this. Space. Oh. The hell? Boom. Die. Oh, Grandma, look at your head. Yeah, you're falling. Boom. Boom. Okay, move now. Fuck that shit. Random. Sure. No. Hate. The impossible one. Let's check it. Grandma. The impossible staircase. Oh. You said it's impossible? No. It's always be possible to me. Bottle run and then Justin Bieber beat it, Justin Bieber. Okay, best bottle run character. I beat Justin Bieber. Whoa, madam. Easiest, fuck. Kidditas. Yeah. Damn it. Yeah. Yeah. Santa Claus, the best. Obstacle course normal, maybe. Let's check this. Oh. Yo. Bot run. Okay. Glass break. Oh, I know how to break it. I was a hacker. Okay. Boom. No, damn it. Okay. Let's try to do it like a boss. Okay, we're back. No, Ronnie's. Yeah. Just me. Matrix. Whoa. Boom. Fruit Ninja. Let's play Fruit Ninja, shall we? Knife. Oh. That was. Come on. No. Oh. Reach it. Reach it. Come on. Damn it. Now be ninja. Die. Die, Roix. One left guy. One. Oh! Oh! Yeah. Killing machine. Grandma, you're gonna be. Let's go. Oh. I'm crashing everything. Okay. Yeah. I hate it. These levels. I just hate. Rabbit Man free. No. Come on. Go. Oh. I'm going to nowhere. Like a bus. Danger. Okay, I'm just. Okay, we're back. Nothing now. I'm not gonna die. Come on, come on. Hey, no die. Go. Yeah. Oh. Oh. Okay. Come on. Now don't fall. Yeah. I think I need to go like that. Yeah. Damn it. Watch out, there are hairs on me. No. Okay. That fuck. Say goodbye. Survive. Okay. My grandfather always survived everything. No. No. I am professional with father and son. Son. Oh. Ouch, my head. Son, be brave. But it hurts. I said be brave. Do I need always do this? Die. Boss battle? Don't be. Oh. Okay, we're back. What the? Okay, this is the boss battle. Don't kill me. No. I want to live. Niggas. Okay. The last shot. Like it. Okay, that was lag. So, subscribe, like, favorite, and goodbye.